Leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. The man who said this had considerable leadership experience to draw from. John F. Kennedy led men in combat, led a nation in turmoil, and paid the ultimate price as a leader. Whether you pursue a career in wildland firefighting or go on to a different profession, becoming a student of leadership will pay lifetime dividends to you and those you work with. Many of you are on the threshold of a difficult transition, from follower to leader. You're preparing to lead those that were once peers. Why do you want to be in charge? Why would anyone want to follow you? Are leaders born or made? What can you do to become a better leader? Every firefighter who makes this transition will make mistakes. That's part of the learning process. But trial and error is not the only way to learn. The effective leader will search out and take advantage of many opportunities in their journey toward mastering the art of leadership. This training course is just one such opportunity. More opportunities will be handed to you by time and circumstance. Studying the actions of those in critical leadership roles is one way you can improve your leadership skills. In August of 1949, the wildland firefighting profession experienced one of the most significant fire tragedies in our history. 12 smoke jumpers died at the Man Gulch fire in Montana. The aftermath of that fire caused changes within the wildland fire profession that still affect us today. Now, more than 50 years after that fire, business leaders, Marine Corps officers, and wildland firefighters have gathered in Man Gulch for an event known as a staff ride. This is another leadership teaching tool. After completing a pre-reading assignment, participants go on site to walk through an incident and stop at strategic sites to discuss critical leadership actions. With each person contributing their insight on what they believe were crucial factors, the whole group gains a better understanding of the incident.
We teach our people how to size up fires. We train them. We spend a lot of time thinking about it and doing it. But what do we really give them to help size up their people? Especially when they've never been around them before.
Just to play with that a little bit for the sort of the immediate setting here. Let's say it is 5 o'clock. You were thrown onto that aircraft. You still don't know all the names. Here you are. Somebody has told you, size up your people before you begin to move. What would you have done right here at that time to begin that process?
One of the first things you learned as a beginning firefighter was how to select a hand tool, to take a few seconds to examine it and see if it's fire ready before heading out to the fire. The same is true now that you aspire to be a leader of firefighters. Knowing the capabilities of the individuals on your team is at least as important as your knowledge of tools and tactics. Always remember the basic test of leadership. Only the willing decision by others to follow you makes you a leader. Deciding to follow was a key factor at Man Gulch. Within 2 hours of landing on the ground, the smoke jumpers' situation had deteriorated, and their goal of escape by outrunning the flames was eluding them. It was at this point that Wag Dodge, the leader of the group, initiated his successful escape fire and attempted to get the others to follow him into it. The decision by his firefighters not to follow him at that critical moment had tragic consequences.
To get this past this point, the crux of keeping this team alive is that very fateful moment somewhere after 5:50 when Dodge says, in here everybody. And at that point, his own leadership did not seem to still be there, at least enough to get Sally and Rumsey or anybody else for that matter to follow on in. So working backwards from that, one way to think about this spot here is this. What are you doing at this point that might be right, might be wrong, that will then fatefully affect whether you can lead about 15, maybe 20 minutes later when it's really going to count?
If you need a co-conspirator, a buddy, an executive officer, a deputy, you really need to get to know that person especially if that person's the natural leader or the credible leader in the group. So, just in hindsight, it might have been good for Dodge to take the XO and go up and do the recce together, so they could have conspired, thought about this, and then left somebody else in charge of lunch.
Yeah.
Made a simple statement like, if you think I'm missing something or not seeing something, let me know.
A good example would be the destruction of the American Embassy in Beirut on the 18th of April in '83. All of a sudden, the American Embassy gets blown up, and, well, we're loading boys on trucks and driving up there, and nobody knows where we're going or why we're going there. But you get down there, and you kind of got to make a mess of all of that, and you got the media, and you got all of these things. One thing I found is to get small groups together and assign projects to them. And just a little thing as important as putting your arm around someone who you're the leader of that small unit who's going to go off and do something, and you just explain the situation there and then send them off on their project. And then the next group you send off on their project, you explain what you did with the first group. Yeah. All right, Sergeant Cosner's going to go down there. He's going to provide security on the wharf. Okay? What I need you to do is go around the back side of the building and make sure nobody sneaks in to steal documents and stuff. And, you know, I'm going to be here, and we'll link up later. Okay, yeah. Cosner's doing this. The Knots is doing this. You know, I need you to do this. Yeah. And that small unit project assigning seems to be real important.
Had I said more about the gravity of the situation up there, it might have worked to my advantage as we're heading down the gulch. Others beginning now to try to solve the problem with me, as they can appreciate how serious the situation is becoming. And then at this critical moment, a few minutes after 5:50 p.m., as I say, basically, in here, everybody, I might have had a little bit more of a tug on them. Their leadership, their confidence in my leadership might have been a little bit stronger at that point and might have made the difference. So
That actually ties into the one that I think is the most critical. Dodge needed to take a couple of minutes while he was establishing his legitimacy as a leader to explain his thoughts about how they were going to proceed over the next hour or two, so that he had some buy-in from his crew for the basic plan of attack.
here's my list of great lessons here. One is a reminder, strategy is everything. Dodge developed a strategy here to get these guys out, got his priorities straight on that one, obviously. But equally, time of execution is everything too. And Tom made a nice observation there. The things were running about 30 minutes behind where they should have been. And slowness of execution is without question going to let somebody else get the high ground before you get there in business or anywhere else. So great strategy, but you also have to have speed of execution. Third point I've got here is that words really count. Not always, but sometimes they really do. Got to be careful how we use words with people who are looking to us for guidance. Need to make certain they hear what is intended. Words shouldn't be ambiguous. I think a good phrase that I've just heard maybe ought to be applied to just about everything we say and do, and that is the this and why, this is why phrase, or this is why. So whatever the instruction is, here's why we should do that. This is why we're going to do that. Next point is not only do words count, but behavior counts. And people often look to what you're doing as much as what you're saying. I think we know that pretty well. And by way of illustration here, Dodge coming back up here to grab a bite to eat, at least taking time in the minds of the men who are heading out. He's not coming out quickly. May have said to them, still one more time, situation isn't quite as grave as it was turning into. And back now a little bit ahead of the game here, but one of the elements that Dodge brought to the setting that is unequivocally what we like to see in all of us is a remarkable coolness under fire, if you'll pardon the expression there, because as he does see the spot fires, he's got his crew reversed, they're coming back up, the end's in sight. He says to himself, by way of testimony, I've got 30 to 45 seconds to go. And then, as Larry pointed out, he hit on this tactic that had been pretty much undeveloped, unnamed, unused. So here's a guy, when everybody else is looking to be on the verge of panic, is not panicking. He's focused, still trying to solve problems. And so I suppose that's a learned skill, a kind of a mindset that we'd all like to see in ourselves when the pressure is really on. I'm not certain how I would have done myself here under the same circumstances. I'm sure not nearly as well, but it's good in principle to help ourselves and people who work with us when the pressure is really on to keep thinking, not turn that CPU off, to focus on the problem and not run.
Just as you have had to invest time and effort to become an effective firefighter, you must also spend time and effort to become an effective leader. And just as the business, military, and fire leaders you've seen are investing their time to learn from an historical event, you too should seek opportunities that enable you to become a student of leadership.